Buchanan.
Yes.
Ms. Givens.
Yes.
Mr. Hughes.
Yes.
Mayor Venezia.
Yes. Okay, start on that. Better run out the door now while I'm going to. Have a good night. Good. We're gonna get into the budget. I do want to express my feelings about last month and even the month before that. We had introduced the budget. There was no issues then. Larry, you and I were on the finance committee. We had Carol, we had Joe that was at that finance committee that day. I had wanted to do a budget workshop. You had said no. And we did not do the budget workshop. Then it was mentioned at the last meeting, we're not gonna do this because we didn't have a budget workshop meeting. And I'm a little disappointed that that was the stance that the council took. We have a budget that we're not really having, it's a zero tax increase. So what's the big deal about why we could not approve the budget last month? Not to mention the fact that if we're gonna be making any changes to it, we're not even in a position to adopt the budget tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong, Carol, because we would have to re-advertise this and resend it out to DCA for their approval, and that's just gonna delay this much longer. I would really make the recommendation, we could have the budget workshop for the purposes of Aaron being a new member of council. I think we should all work with Aaron so that he has an opportunity to understand what he's looking at and voting on. Which, by the way, you did vote yes last month.
Yes.
But the reality is that we have a budget that's in place. I think it's got room for trimming, and we could probably just simply allow that money that would be rolled over into surplus. So I can agree with you, Larry. You want to do all that way there with keeping certain line items in place. I was really looking at a 2-cent tax decrease, which would basically be about what? $27,000 to shave off of the budget. And that's what I really wanted to do, but I went along with you and I says, okay, we'll keep it there.
You went along with the CFO and your auditor because she indicated that if you lowered it by 2 cents, then it would jeopardize your surplus. That was the discussion.
That was the discussion, but also we did have that ability, and still do have that ability, because we did lose an employee. And I think we're gonna have a very conservative way of how we're gonna operate the public works department from here in.
I think that we need to make sure that our money is available so that we can run this city and the operations that need to take place on a daily basis and not keep it as a surplus and just run out so you don't have to raise anything or do anything else to the budget. That's my personal opinion.
We have an adequate amount of money that's in the budget that we could borrow from Paul to pay Peter, so to speak, as we start doing transfers later on throughout the year. But I can.
In November.
Excuse me?
Transfer can only be done in November.
That's correct. That's correct.
So there may be times when money might be not on a particular line item and we have a bill that has to be paid. And we're gonna have to hold until November.
Guys, what I'm looking out for is the taxpayer right now. I really would like to see,
Hey, we pay taxes too, Joe, you know?
And I don't think anybody said about increasing taxes.
Nobody wants.
It's just a movement on some of the line items.
which line items are we speaking of to move?
Want to take one and pass it down, please?
Well, we tried to have a meeting, but we all couldn't come up with a time. Nobody talks about that.
There are 5 areas. The 2 bottom areas are capital, which no money was put into capital in case of emergencies, rainy days, whatever may happen.
Well, I wrote in my notes here last month, I think Carol rattled off a few numbers in which we weren't too far away from $100,000 in capital.
For specifics,
Right.
we have $30,000 in public buildings and grounds.
The numbers that I wrote down here are 15,800, 14,850.
In what areas, Joe?
I didn't write down the areas, I just wrote down what Carol had said, that we had, excuse me, can we not have extemporaneous comments, ridicule what I'm saying?
But in capital, money has to be used for those particular items that they're earmarked for. So saying that there's $100,000 in capital, that doesn't really tell what the true picture is. To my understanding, in buildings and grounds, according to the number I just received from the CFO, there's about $34,000 in there. I don't know where the other figures are.
What do you mean that you don't know where the other figures are?
I don't know what the other 65,000
Carol,
are earmarked for.
Yes.
Yes.
Carol, you want to repeat what
Yes.
those are again, please?
There's,
I know I'm writing these down, so you can just go over
road,
stuff.
right, the 15,800 is road construction. 14,850 is reserved for public buildings and grounds.
What was that figure again?
14,850,
And that's for buildings and ground?
yes.
14,000?
14,850. There is 25,000 in reserve for purchase of public works equipment. And in the capital improvement fund, which could be appropriated for anything, there's 23,400.
And Carol,
What was that final figure, I'm sorry?
23,400.
That's all.
The shelf of 400, that's for what?
That's in a capital improvement fund, which could be appropriated for any capital item.
and these monies were rolled over from last year?
Yes, they were.
Okay, so there's no money from this year being applied to this budget?
I believe there is no capital items in the current
No capital
2018
items.
budget.
I was showing on my line item about $30,000 in buildings and grounds for my expenditure report. So we'll get together and see if the value, I think, we're
80.
But that's, what's, after what Carol just said, the reason that we didn't allocate anything in the capital is because we felt at the time that we wanted to hold the line on taxes, hope to keep the tax rate stable. But when you have 14,885 plus monies in capital that can be used if we wanted to for any capital expenditure, and then we had 25,000 public works. At the time that we met, there wasn't any major projects on the drawing board to do. So a few years back, like maybe 2 or 3 years back, we didn't have anything in the capital reserve, but now we do. But unless you're planning on doing something big or a project or something of that nature, that's why we didn't do anything with
Well,
it.
I think last year, you and I had a conversation with regards to building our reserve for public works in case we needed a new truck or something somewhere along the lines.
Right.
If we fail to keep that momentum going, we're gonna fall short in the future when that situation does come.
Well, you have 25,000 in there, but we didn't obviously put anything in there this year because we don't want to raise taxes.
We have a salt building that's blowing out the back and salt pouring off, going into the ground. I mean, that has to be taken care of and addressed sooner or later. Is that right?
Yeah, there's some issues that have to be taken care
Big
of.
time.
Yeah, it's, obviously it's up to you guys to come up with the ideas.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering why we didn't do anything at the time of our finance
I
meeting.
mean, that just can't go on.
We could in fact dress that up so it's not as ugly looking as what it is. I agree with you.
The back is blown
Yeah, I know
out
that.
and the salt,
We
all
have-
that money we paid for that salt now is being wasted and going into the ground.
Well,
We have to make some structural
yeah,
repairs.
we could probably just simply put some pressure treat backer boards right behind it. And,
Because now, it's the sand, or the salt is actually pushing the building out, so you're gonna have to remove that salt to the front, so you can get the building back in and put some kind of posts in with boards on the back that's gonna be, it's gonna have to be some type of heavy lumber, 2x material at least, plywood's not gonna hold.
no question, it's gotta be 2x12 PT.
But in the front, there needs to be something addressed so that the way the winds don't go into it
We
and the
have, we
rains.
have that
There's a tarp there.
tarp on the
Well,
front.
that didn't work.
Well, it does, when it's down, it works.
Wow.
But that's not the issue. The issue is when you push the salt, pushes to the back, and next thing you know,
That's why that's.
when it slides down, it takes out the back of that. Well, let's face it, that building has been in place for a number of years, and it's only tin.
It's only 10.
Metal roof or metal siding does not go well with salt.
That building was purchased in 205,
Well,
to the best of my
Like I
recollection.
say, metal buildings and salt do not go together. They corrode. That should have been
concrete.
pressure treated lumber right from the get-go.
I take that back, it was 2004.
Well, whatever.
Is when that
It
building
needs
was
to be
purchased.
worked on.
And I can even tell you that I think that building cost us $13,000. So all we need to do is just simply restructure the back end of it with some backer boards, and I think that that would solve the problem. We'll paint it the same color as what the building is, get some blue, and that should work.
Okay.
You know, we don't need to throw a whole bunch of money into it.
No, we're not talking about throwing a lot of money.
Right, that's just dressing.
Making it structurally sound so it don't collapse. That's all we're gonna do. We don't wanna put in any more than what we have to.
Aaron's an expert at that, he's a carpenter.
Yeah, don't get me off of that.
I'm not cheap, I'm not cheap.
I didn't ask you how much you were gonna charge us, actually, you're gonna do it for free, right?
All right,
You
you
remember
finish this
council?
up?
Whoa.
I'm sorry.
Are we?
You do it for the city, you gotta do it.
Well, one of the things,
You can give recommendations, Aaron.
one of the things is with the public works, we can reduce that to about $23,000.
What was that again?
We can reduce public works, S&W, about $23,000. And that's the money that can be put into the capital.
Why do we need to put some excess money in the capital? I mean, obviously, Al, you have something in mind that you wanna spend money on, so what,
No, I don't have anything in mind. Unlike some rumors I've heard.
well, I have heard from our
Oh,
solicitor.
let's get off that, just get it.
I heard from the solicitor.
The only one,
No, I wanna hear it.
the only one, the only person I heard wants to buy an
Here's so
F-550
much. Just get to the point.
where the plow and dump was you.
No,
Not
I'm not
me.
saying that at all.
Oh, absolutely you
To
did.
my knowledge,
Wait,
there is no information here where anybody is looking to spend any capital money on purchases of equipment.
I also wanna say this, I am in negotiations with the county right now, and, we are gonna work something out to see about sharing services with our roadways.
There you go, now.
And I think it's actually gonna be something where the city and the county are gonna win. It's gonna be a win-win situation.
What's that got to do with this budget?
It's got to do with
I got the letter.
purchase equipment.
Nobody wants to purchase equipment.
Nobody said anything about purchasing equipment.
Because with public works, we could also deal with possibly insulate that building. We could also deal with, put some type of heater in there that's effective.
That actually.
And would protect the equipment that we do have.
Because it was never insulated, the roof.
Other
When the
sides.
condensation comes in, it just drips all the time with all the stuff in there.
Keep the workers
Well,
outside work.
let's get back to this
Yeah,
portion
well.
here. And the way I understand this, the way you explain this to me, the movement of this monies does not increase this budget by anything.
Uh,
Actually remains the same.
It's 27,000 increased in areas and 27,000 decreased in areas.
So there's
So it's
actually no
a
change.
balanced
It's a balanced budget,
budget.
okay.
So the bottom
No
line is, there
tax
is no
increase.
change in the tax rate
Exactly.
or tax collection amount of money. Just a different spending of it, or should I say, a different listing of it, because a lot of this does not have to be spent.
And in the event that we're gonna be purchasing any equipment, I'm hoping the council will come to an agreement. Aaron has respectfully requested tonight to hold off on one of our resolutions to do the gov deals, and I will honor that request, but, you know, we actually do have some monies that we could recoup, specifically from the one military truck that is used on a once-in-a-while basis.
But when that is used,
You wish you had it.
you're glad you had it.
You know, because the county's gonna be working with us on the sharing services.
Do we have anything from the county?
No, we're in the initial stages, Larry.
They've already answered, you said they're not gonna do it.
I'll call me back and meet with the executive and meet
This
with,
was something I wanted to bring up, because you keep talking about how nobody keeps you in the loop, nobody talks to you. But when I was on the Public Works Committee, before you removed me, you set up meetings with the county to discuss public works issues, and I was not notified of that
you
meeting.
haven't been notified, nobody's been notified because we don't have the meetings set
Wait a
in
minute,
place yet.
but you did have
Larry,
people
it's not
from
on.
emergency management there and from the fire department.
Yeah,
Right.
that was discussed,
What do they have to do with the public works portion of this city's
they
operation?
weren't taking care of the county roads in a timely fashion.
Who was it?
The county wasn't.
Okay?
And it was brought to my attention from,
What I'm asking you, Joe, is why do these people have to be present if you're trying to negotiate something with the county for city public works? Why are these people present at that meeting, and the person who's your co-chair on that committee was not even notified of the meeting?
maybe you just got past me.
Also, you had a meeting
Larry,
with the Forest Fire Service, and I'm on the committee, and you never told me about that one. And then you had another meeting for the, Town Watch. Never told me about that one either.
It was advertised.
So I just wanted to put that out there. You keep talking about how nobody is actually telling you what's going on. I'm the only one that calls you on the phone to get your advice on things and ask you about stuff. Don't I not?
And then I asked you the same.
Okay, so,
Wait, I want to get back to
Alright.
Al buying
I'm done.
equipment.
Oh.
Let's move on.
Ah, damn it. Alright. I just figured get all liars in the same room and just see what's going on. I mean, Fred said, Joe's saying, Fred told him Al's gonna buy him equipment. Everybody's right up
That's what I
here.
was understanding.
Let's
That's
talk about it, Fred.
That's- What?
Am I the only one in the room?
I don't,
No, you're not the only one.
I understand what you're trying to do. I don't think it's gonna be beneficial to what we need to get done here tonight.
Okay.
So let's continue with our
He wants to know whether or not.
I wanna know
you
who's
said,
buying. I wanna know who's
I wanted
buying.
to buy a truck. And you and I discussed yesterday that was not the case.
There was a time when I've had conversations about this budget with the mayor, the council president, and Councilman Barbero, just to see where we were going. And in that, I've said, what kind of changes do you want to see? And the response that I got is that there may be one employee issue, and there may be some need for funding in public works. Now, that was the answer that I got.
Okay, so
And
you
that's-
didn't specifically say Al's buying equipment. Al wants to buy equipment.
No.
Correct?
That-
It's yes or no?
Oh, wait, let me explain something, if I may.
Please.
I'm not the principal here. I'm trying to accommodate and assist this government moving forward. And to the extent that I have conversations with the members of council, multiple members of council, I'm doing that to try to move things along. I'm not gonna be, first of all, the answer to your question, Councilman, is no, I didn't say that.
Okay.
But as a matter of operation and how I'm doing business, trying to pin me down isn't gonna get us where we need to go.
I get that, but I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
well,
Joe's
please get it.
accusing somebody
I
and using you as a
understand.
reference.
That was my understanding of what I was hearing there, and I'm
Listen.
sorry.
I'm just,
This is not gonna benefit the city, or what we gotta take care of here tonight.
Yes,
So
it
we
will.
can just move on with what we're doing
Correct,
and get through this.
correct. Carol, what is your recommendation?
We have
with
someone who repeats.
transferring these, I mean, you're really doing good, or the, principal,
I mean, I can't make determinations of where you put the line items, I can let you know that if you make these changes, it would just be a budget amendment that would require a public hearing, advertisement and an additional public hearing. Any budget amendment has to be submitted to the division for their approval as well. I'm not in a position to make any decisions as to where you put these lines.
but if we were to leave everything alone as to where it is, then we could just simply adopt the budget. And is there a need to change things around within, one line item to another? I mean, personally speaking, for what I think I'm hearing, we have adequate funds and a whole lot more to do, simple repairs to salt building and whatever else that may need to, come along. I don't see where we have an issue to have to change things around and delay this even further. I really don't see the need. I mean, I've worked on budgets for a good number of years, and I don't see the need to have to change this one around. You know, we introduced it, everybody was fine, now all of a sudden we're gonna do it all, changing it around again. It doesn't even begin to make sense.
That's right.
I would strongly recommend that if we wanna have, a discussion on the budget for the purposes of Aaron to understand what we're voting on or what he's gonna vote on again, I don't have a problem with that.
That would be
That
done in
was
a work
initially what
meeting,
my intentions
not a
were
regular meeting.
all along. Excuse me?
That would be done in a work meeting, not a regular meeting.
Now, I personally think that our budget is okay with where it is. I don't see the need to do any changes around. I don't see the need to be purchasing anything other than just simply maintaining what we already have. And we have a fair, adequate amount of money that's in place right now. We have a fair, adequate amount of money that's in place. Buildings and grounds, we got $14,850. I can assure you, you're not even looking at $700 to fix that salt building. Purchase of public works equipment, you got $25,000. What do we possibly need to buy? And as far as a capital improvement fund of $23,400, what do we need to do?
The only reason I'm suggesting some of these is because the conversation that we've had, and I've had with Judd in the past, is if you don't routinely, yearly, put money down, it's like a savings account. If you don't put money there, you're never gonna be able to get to the result where you may need it at some time.
That is
If you don't put in there, this is not going to affect our budget overall, it's not gonna affect our taxes. All it is gonna put money in place that if we need it, it's gonna be there in that line item.
But what I'm saying there is we do have plenty of money. Guess what? We will have money when we sell some surplus equipment, and we will also have money at the end of the year when we roll over, and we can roll it over into capital.
We can't bank on money we don't have now. You can't bank on what you're gonna sell or what you're gonna get for it.
And I'm not aware of anything that is an eminent need of doing now. Nobody's saying a word. Which leads me to believe that if nobody's saying a word, then what's the sense in changing the numbers around? What is the sense?
Well, didn't you hear what just
I
Larry
heard
said
exactly what
about
he said.
saving? Having it for,
We have plenty of money that's in our reserves right now, Al. We have plenty of money that are there.
to do what?
To
To
what
do
we
anything
need to-
big if we had to? If we had an emergency where we needed to spend money, $50,000.
Yeah,
That's gonna put us in a very dire strait with the rest of the capital accounts in general then.
50,000.
Carol, let me ask you a question. In the event that there was something that was an emergent need, could we then simply transfer some monies? It just can't be done. Once the budget is set in place, that's it.
So we gotta move it now.
If you have an emergency, there are avenues you could follow in order to fund that particular emergency and raise those funds in the next year's budget.
And give me an example of how it's done. I've heard of this before in the past, but I like to wait
When there's an emergency, if the, whichever department it might occur in would file a memo with the CFO, who then would prepare, and if there's an emergency report that gets filed with the division. You can do whatever it is in a quick fashion, and those, if it's $50,000, that amount needs to be raised in the next year's budget.
So we would loan ourselves the 50,000 from the money that we have here, and then next year's budget would already be a $50,000 deficit.
Is there a,
We start out with a minus $50,000.
is there a penalty for that?
No.
So minus 50 before we get started.
I'm somewhat okay with what we have right now.
I like to,
He's not getting his 2 cent increase.
tax it a little bit.
Again, this does not raise the taxes,
Yeah.
anything. Not a cent, not a fraction of a cent. Does nothing other than just moves money around to different line items.
Somebody make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the 2018 budget with the tax collectors, SNW, being increased by 5,000, Public Works, S&W decreasing by $23,000, LoSAP decreasing by $4,000, Public Buildings and Grounds capital increasing by $12,000, and Public Works equipment capital increasing by $10,000.
Why are we increasing the tax collector's salary and wages? Line?
To make sure we have money to cover salaries.
So this,
Are you planning on making any raises?
I can't make a raise.
so this basically indicates that there's, the increases are 5,000, 12,000, and 10,000. And the decreases are 23,000 and 4,000, both offset at 27,000 apiece.
That is correct. And with LoSAP, by taking out the 4,000 out of that, we can always put more money back in that, but during that particular year, we can't take money out of that line item? Correct.
Outside.
Right, okay.
Okay, so Larry made a motion. Was there a second?
No, I made the
You made the
motion.
motion, I'll make the second.
Is there any further discussion?
So if I could just, real quick, the actual resolution to amend the budget needs to be done after it gets actual approval by the division, so you really have to do that resolution to amend at the next meeting, and then hold the public hearing at that particular time.
But I didn't make we didn't do a resolution, I just made a
Okay,
straight
fine.
motion, right?
That's fine.
So let me ask you this,
We need to
Kyle.
send that up to the division now, so
Yeah.
they can look at it and approve, and tell us to approve it
True, right.
at the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, so we can do this based on the rest, yeah, so we do need the resolution.
So let me ask you this.
It
we're
would
going
be,
to do
it
a
would need a
resolution?
resolution.
So
The resolution now, it's gonna get sent up to the state,
Okay.
and then it's gonna have to advertise it in a newspaper for a public hearing, which will be at the June, I think, the 9th meeting, or the, whatever date it is,
Right.
the second Wednesday, okay?
June 13th,
We're gonna,
must be June.
we're gonna have a public hearing on the amendment first. Has to
Won't
be
be June
approved,
13th.
and then we're going to approve the
Unless they
budget.
change it.
If the amendment doesn't get approved, we can't adopt the budget. I do wanna caution you guys though on this, and I, whatever council does, but during the finance meeting, we did talk about surplus, cause when we do a budget, we always, it's just instinct with us and myself and Carol to look a year or two down the road. Because the surplus that we gave for the 18 budget comes from the 2016 budget, monies that are left over, plus any special things, if we sell land or whatever, someone gives us money or whatnot, or additional state aid. Obviously, we don't get any additional state aid. So, when we looked at that in the finance meeting, we were coming up with rough numbers of being short by, I wanna say, $30,000, $40,000